What's up, guys? This time I'm here to talk about a recent DVD release called Martha. What the fuck is it? It's Martha, Marcy, May, Marlene. Incredibly stupid and forgettable title for an incredibly stupid and forgettable film. I'm probably gonna go on a bit of a rant here, but this represents the worst of independent film. It's the kind of film that makes people not want to watch independent films because they give it a shot and then they see something like this. And it's getting to the point with a lot of these independent films where they're becoming formulaic. And that kind of goes against the point of independent film. You know, the point of independent film is to do things that studios won't finance because it's not safe, it's not marketable to a wider, it's not going to sell to everybody. But it doesn't mean it should be bad. This is the kind of film that someone will watch and go, "This is independent films are fucking stupid," and so they miss out on great independent films like Take Shelter or um, Hesher or going back to The Lookout, like all these smaller films that have a smaller budget and they barely get released, but they're amazing. And then you have shit like Martha, Marcy, May, Marlene, where it's to the point now where it's formulaic, it's pretentious, it's garbage. And this was a well-reviewed film, and it was generated buzz at whatever film festivals it was at, and from the trailer, it looked kind of interesting to me. It looked kind of similarly themed to Winter's Bone, which I didn't think was as great as some people did, but I thought it was a hell of a lot better than this. And it also has John Hawkes, who was in Winter's Bone, and who was better in Winter's Bone than this. Um, Martha, Marcy, May, Marlene stars Elizabeth Olsen, who I found out after looking her up because I was like, who is this chick? She's a younger sister of Mary Kate and Ashley Olsen, and she's very beautiful. She looks a lot to me, like Maggie Gyllenhaal, but hotter. And I think Maggie Gyllenhaal is hot. I don't care what anyone says about her turtle face. I like it. And this Elizabeth Olsen, this Elizabeth Olsen looks a lot like her, but I think hotter and kind of you know um, got a little more curves to her. Um, and she gives a fine performance in this. Everyone in this is generally pretty good, but this is a fundamentally flawed piece of shit. Um, Basically, Elizabeth Olsen plays Martha slash Marcy, which I won't even probably get into why she has all these different names. It's stupid. But basically, she's a young girl, young troubled girl, who is at the beginning of the film. She's living. You don't really understand exactly what's going on, but she's living with like this rural, very small rural cult of people who all live together and fuck and steal and shit. And they're led by John Hawkes, and he's got a very strange, you know, very strange method for them, like lifestyle for them, but for some reason they go along with it. And at the beginning of the film, she's living with them, and at the beginning of the film, she escapes. And she gets out of there, she runs away, she calls her sister, who she hasn't seen in like 2, 3 years, and her sister picks her up, and she goes to stay with her sister. And the, you know, majority of the film is her living with her sister. You'll have a scene there, and then a flashback to her living with this cult, where you learn more about what was going on in the cult in these flashbacks and kind of fucked up things they were doing. And then in the present, you just basically see a fucked up girl who's fucked up from living there, who is, basically a nightmare for her sister that, who's trying to help her. And there's a lot of things wrong with this film. First of all, it's kind of a stupid premise. Like, who the fuck thought of this? I want to do a movie about a girl who, for whatever reason, she's living in a cult and she escapes, and then she goes to live with her sister for a little bit, so her sister can help her out. And we're gonna, do flashbacks between we're gonna cut between the present and her living in this cult and show how fucked up the cult was. And it's going for like this weird, rural gothic type thing, kind of like Winter's Bone or something. But it's just it's just its biggest problem is not the premise, although I think the premise is pretty stupid. Its biggest problem is it's incredibly dull and very poorly paced to the point where when even there are interesting things happening or exciting things happening, they're not exciting because of how poorly paced it is and how you're almost half asleep and how at some point you could hardly give a shit anymore and you're wondering why you're watching this. Um, Elizabeth Olsen, I think she does a good job as this girl, but her character is not likable to me. Like she's just a weak character. Not only is she not fleshed out very much, but she's just weak willed and just kind of a coward and doesn't say anything, and she's just quiet and fucked up and just never really takes a stand. And when she does have her outbursts, it's her acting like an idiot or her being incredibly mean and vile to her sister. Who, and I don't know if they wanted you to think that her sister was terrible to her. That's a big problem with this. Elizabeth Olsen, her character Martha, Marcy, whatever, she's in this cult where she's basically being raped and having sex with everybody, and they go out and they sneak into people's houses and they steal shit because they don't work, and you never get a sense of why exactly she went there. Because she's an idiot, because she has low self-esteem. She's a weak character, a weak-willed character. I mean, it's kind of suggested that maybe her home life was not the greatest, but you don't know. I mean, that's just me guessing because it doesn't explain it at all. All right. And you just kind of are like, you don't even feel bad for her. You're just like, this girl is fucking stupid for joining them. Probably the best thing you could say about her is she leaves at the beginning of the film, but why was she there in the first place? It seems like you'd have to be an incredibly damaged and impressionable person to join a cult like this in the first place. Which I guess obviously she is, but it doesn't explain why. And if it's meant to be that to show that her sister, her only family that she has in this is it was bad to her, I didn't see that at all. I thought her sister was completely nice and completely normal and much more sympathetic than our main character. And there's these moments where the main character is just a total bitch to her, and I'm wondering if the movie's thinking that you're supposed to be rooting for our main character to be mean to her, like you're supposed to hate the sister. But the sister lets her into her house. She's completely nice to her all the time. She seems like a totally normal, reasonable person, especially compared to our main character, Martha, Marcy, whatever. So I just don't. You have a stupid character, stupid premise. You have a pretty shitty main character. You have, and it's like reverse. The people that are supposed to be unlikable or likable. The person you're supposed to sympathize the most with, you're just kind of like, what a stupid fucking girl. It's got terrible pacing. It's slow. It's dull. There's nothing really to like in this. There's a few parts in the flashbacks where you're like, whoa, that's fucked up. And it didn't even make me sympathize. Like, there's a flashback. They show John Hawkes, who leads this cult, takes her, he's fucking her in the ass, or he's fucking her from behind, and she's drugged up. And, he's being very rough with her, kind of, or I don't know. She doesn't look like she's enjoying it. She's kind of crying through it. And then at the end of it, he leaves. This other girl comes in, and she's like, don't be upset. This is your first night to him. This is a very special night. This is a gift. Whatever, happened with you guys, you should really enjoy it. And she's just kind of like, okay, cool. And she goes along with it, and then she does that to the next girl they bring in. Like, she's the one that mentors this girl. Oh, tells her, no, don't worry about it. He's gonna fuck you in the ass. He's gonna drug you up, and it's all cool. Just it doesn't ever make you like her more. In fact, as it goes on, I liked her less. Her main character, especially as she just acts more and more. I don't know, chaotic, or she's just more and more of a mess as it goes along. As her sister's trying to help her, and her sister's not like mean to her or talk down to her or anything like that. They're like trying to help her. They're like, have you thought about what you're trying to do to get a job? And our main character's response is, why should I get a job? That's just the way that you were taught to go through life, but it's not the right way to go through life. And you're just like, man, fuck this bitch. How am I supposed to like or care about this girl? Or there's one part, and I'm going to spoil it because I'm telling you not to watch this. And this is not a big spoiler. But there's one part where the sister's like, you know what? I've done what I can for you. We're going to have to try to get you help. We're going to send you to a psychiatrist, right? And they're going to pay for it. And, they're doing everything they can to help her. And what does she say? She's like, hey, sis. I forgot what her sister's name was. She's like, hey, sis. Her sister stops, and she's like, what? She's like, you're going to be a terrible mother. And her sister breaks down crying, and then her sister's just like, we'll talk in the morning or something. Like, her sister doesn't even bite back. And it's just like, how much worse could I paint this picture? I'm going to say it again. Terrible, terrible pacing as his biggest flaw, a stupid premise, a shitty main character who you sympathize less with as it goes along. And you sympathize more with her sister and her sister's husband or fiance who are trying to help her out. Except the more they help her, the more she acts like a fucking lunatic. There's not much to this, and that's it. It's just switching between her, the president, being a fucking idiot, and then showing how she became such a fucking idiot by living at this cult. But you never get any real sense of why she joined the cult. And you just never get a good sense of her character, except she's just kind of bitchy and stupid. Like, what kind of response is that? Like, oh, you guys were taught that money and possessions were everything, and you have to work for stuff. But that's not how you have to live. Ooh, awesome. You're such a cool character. Yeah, it would be nice if I could just go do whatever you want, but I don't get where this movie is supposed to appeal to you or hook you. Nothing much happens in it. And then, of course, it's an independent film, so it has to come to, like, this vague, ambiguous, whatever fucking ending. And the ending, which is, I'm getting sick of, like, sometimes it works, and sometimes it works really great. I think Take Shelter, I had my issues with the ending, but as far as ambiguous endings go, not bad. And I think it fit the film and whatnot. Actually, and if I'm being honest, I think there was a better ending to be had in Take Shelter, but I was okay with it. But, does every fucking independent film have to have an ambiguous ending? Can we have a solid ending for once? Most people are going to watch this and be like, oh, just as things were finally getting good after it was so boring, it just ends. Like, what the fuck? Fuck independent films. I'm not going to watch these anymore. That's what your average Joe is going to that's going to be their reaction. To me, the ending was not so bad. I was like, yeah, it's kind of an okay ending, but it's an okay ending to a shitty fucking film. And it's an ending that I totally saw coming. I'm like, oh, okay, so something cool is happening right here. They're gonna cut to black. I know it. I know these fucking movies. I know these independent films, and of course it cuts to black right as something really cool is about to happen. And I saw it coming, and I knew it was gonna cut to black as soon as it did. And that's the word. Why make a fucking independent film if you're just gonna fit into a formula? They're becoming so formulaic. It's just like, can you have a fucking solid ending anymore? Look at the fucking Lookout. That was a great ending. Nothing ambiguous about it. It was fucking awesome. It tied everything up. Try that once in a while. Try figuring out what the story you're telling is and following through on it. Anyways, I'm running out of time, but as you can tell, I fucking hated this film. And so one out of 5 stars for the critically acclaimed Martha, Marcy, May, Marlene. I think it's another piece of shit and not worth your time. And if you watch it, you'll probably kick yourself in the ass like I did. Who knows? But I'm out of time here, guys. Thanks for watching.